Good evening, dear participants. Happy Sunday to you all.
Good evening. Good evening, sir.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much. We will start the session in 1 minute. Our resource person came before long time back.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
only 76 participants are here. We can wait for 5 minutes. Let them join.
Okay. Okay. So, dear participants, we will wait for 5 more minutes. Ma'am, is that okay for you, Anamika, ma'am, to wait for 5 more minutes?
Yes, they're fine with me, sir.
Yes. Since we are 200 registered participants, since it is Sunday, people will be coming for sure. They'll be coming late. Once we are crossing 100, we can start the class. Dear participants, very good evening, and we will start the session. So welcoming you all for the 6th day of this faculty development program. And without taking much time, let me invite Dr. Sujata ma'am to introduce the chief guest to the forum. Sujata ma'am, you're not audible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. So, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. You can speak.
Okay. Something is wrong with my video, so I would like to start.
Yes,
A
yes,
very
yes.
good
You can
evening
start.
to everyone.
Good
Welcome to
evening,
the
ma'am.
welcome to the sixth day of International Faculty Development Program on Research Methodology, a qualitative approach organized by IITM Tamil Nadu and Southfield College, Darjeeling. We are privileged to have an eminent speaker today, Ms. Anam Khan, amongst us today. Ms. Khan is currently working as Assistant Professor in Department of Artificial Intelligence and Data Science in Thakur College of Engineering and Technology, Kandivali, Mumbai, Maharashtra. She has done her master's in computer engineering with data science specialization with more than 5 years of teaching experience. Her fields of interest are artificial intelligence, data science, Java programming, etc. She has a proven track record of publishing research in prestigious national, international, Scopus indexed, and UGC listed journals and conferences, as well as contributing to consultancy projects that bridge academia and industry. Committed to continuous professional growth, she actively participates in faculty development program and short-term training programs. On behalf of IITM Tamil Nadu and Southfield College, I would like to welcome Ms. Khan. She will deliver her lecture on From Data to Meaning, Understanding Qualitative Research Design. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible. Thank you so much for the
Yes, ma'am.
introduction.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
audible, ma'am. And the classes,
Okay,
your
okay,
class
sir.
starts now till 7:30 to 7:35 to 40. And after 7:40, we will have a 20 minutes discussion, ma'am.
Okay, all right,
Okay,
all right.
thanks, thank you.
It's okay if we exceed a little bit time. I mean, if in the process we could go
Fine,
7:45 or something. Yeah.
fine, no problem, no problem. But last 10 to 15 minutes will be for discussion.
All right, all
Thank
right.
you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just share my screen. I hope I'm very clearly audible to the participants. Is the screen visible?
Yes, visible, ma'am.
Again, very good evening to all. So this is, I guess, the fifth session where this is such a nice program organized and well structured by the committee and the coordinators. So the topic for today's presentation that I would like to go ahead with is From Data to Meaning, Understanding Qualitative Research Design. Basically, data, the buzzword that is currently in a boom, and everywhere we are just hearing about data, and lots of data, right? I suppose everyone among the participants are amongst these faculty, right? All these are the faculties. So I would just like to have your point of view. This is a QR code. If you all can just scan, we'll be getting the Mentimeter slides, and I would just take from your point of view that when you come across data or when you hear about data, what is the first thing that comes into your mind? That I would like to know. Just like then to have an interaction when you hear about data, what comes in your mind?
Ma'am, information.
Information. Are people able to scan the QR and get to the Mentimeter slide? Number of some entities, right? I'll just check the responses. If people are able to go to the slide. Okay, information. Somebody has given 1 point information. Share my tab so you all will be able to see. Okay. somebody has given me interpretation, analysis. Okay, work-life balance, information, stress management. Okay, all right. Quite a few responses I have got. So when we normally talk about data, in general terms, what is data? It's something basically something which is raw. The data, if we would actually like to phrase it in a definition format, it's an information, any particular information which is raw, which we need to organize, which could be raw, which could be organized, which could be unorganized, which could be unstructured. It could take any particular form, like using alphabets, numbers, symbols, or a combination of all the things. That refers to represent some ideas, objects, traits, or categories. So any particular structured, unstructured format of the data that we could have and which can give us some insight. Now, taking that data to a meaningful insight or trying to get a meaning out of it is, for example, let's take these scenarios. If we talk about the very first sentence that is written, there is a lot of food that goes waste in India every year. This is also a type of data. The second is where we are actually getting some statistics. The amount of food that goes waste in India every year was more than 40% valued at 58,000 crore. So both these are nothing but the example of data. This is, if I talk about the first one, which is highlighted, it's nothing but qualitative data, which is talking about the essence, the quality of something which is given. And if I take the second one, where some statistics are given, that's nothing but the quantitative data. So yes, data could be in any format, in numbers, in alphabets, it could be a mix. If I talk about the second example, the population of India is growing rapidly. This is also one of the data which is giving us some information, some meaning that we are talking about India's population, which is growing rapidly. Whereas if I talk about the last line, in India, 96.5% kids go to school, which is a data from a particular survey, it is giving me a quantity. So again, if I move a little bit ahead from the type of the data, which is structured, which could be unstructured, which could be raw. So I'm again getting two types. That is, one is my qualitative data, and the second is my quantitative data. Now, why we are going through all these topics, that is data, qualitative data, quantitative data, because our topic is qualitative research design, wherein understanding your data is very, very important. So just as I have explained from the previous examples, whereas one we had our qualitative data and the second we had our quantitative data. So we can broadly classify data into qualitative and quantitative, highlighting and emphasizing more over qualitative data because our today's topic revolves around the qualitative data. So it is nothing but categorical measurement expressed not in terms of numbers, but rather by means of natural language description. Whenever we take certain data into means of numbers, that goes into the category of quantitative data. When we are talking about some quantity, some numbers, so that's a quantitative analysis. But when you talk not about, but when you're taking the natural expressions, the simple expressions, simple English language, where some emotions, some verbs, some words are expressed and not the numbers are there, not even a single number is there, that is nothing but your qualitative data. That is again one of the major aspect of carrying out research process. For example, researches like sentiment analysis, etc., where people's emotions are being recognized and being researched upon. That is where the field with qualitative data is very much used. Just for the differentiation between this qualitative and quantitative, qualitative we have just covered. Talking about quantitative is where exactly some discrete numericals or continuous numbers are present. So that is, there is no natural language description, there is no alphabetical description, there is no emotions, but simple numbers are given. Quantity is given, just like the example that is 5, or in continuous numbers, that is some decimal points or any particular value, which is nothing but your number or numerical measurement, that is your quantitative data. Now, if we, from the research point of view, if we try to identify which one is better, is qualitative better or is quantitative better, that completely solely relies on what kind of research we are going to carry forward with. So it's not that quantitative better or qualitative better, but the thing is what type of research you are going to carry out. So we need to think in that direction, and accordingly that data we need to choose. Just keeping both the things simultaneously and just trying to understand the distinction between the two types of data, because we have to go in depth with the qualitative analysis. So qualitative, whenever we talk about, they deal with description, so much of expressions, explanations. And when we talk about quantitative, they deal with numbers. They can be observed if we can observe the qualitative data, but we cannot measure them. We can just look at the data. We can have an instinct that this is what person is trying to say, but we cannot actually measure it. But if we take quantitative measurements, yes, we can measure that particular data. Qualitative data can talk about colors, textures, smell, talent, appearance, beauty, etc. So qualitative is directly linked to the quality of data. And if I talk about quantity, so it's going to measure length, weight, area, volume, weight, speed, time, temperature, humidity, sound levels, cost, whatever things you can put up in numbers, that all is your quantitative data. The quantitative is directly linked to your quantity. So I guess we are very much clear with the differentiations of qualitative data and quantitative data. This is again very clear bifurcations of the type of data that we come across as a faculty, right? We all are from, I guess, from the teaching background. We evaluate the students, the data we generate, a number of data we generate. We evaluate the students, we generate the mark sheets, we take counseling of these students. So the counseling, if we talk about the exams, so if we're writing the marks of these students, that is nothing but a quantitative data. If we're writing something, their suggestions, feedback, etc., that's nothing but the qualitative data. So these are the general things which we go across in our day-to-day work life, the type of data. So I'll list just a few. That's qualitative data is gender, religion, native languages, social class, etc. Type of teaching approach is again qualitative data. Problem solving strategy, qualitative data. About quantitative data is the group size of the students that we have. Then test score, percent of lectures attended, number of errors, etc. So I've just tried to link things with the faculty point of view, what we generally do in our workplaces. Talking about this. So qualitative data give you a gist, a feel, an expression. Quantitative data gives you a precise numbering of that particular thing. So there's an oil painting. There are two perspectives to explain about the oil painting. Using the qualitative data, if I speak, I said there's a blue-green color, gold frame. The oil smells old and musty. What is the texture? That's a peaceful scenario of the country. Brush strokes are masterful. If I talk about the quantity, then I'm going to tell the height of the picture, frame weight, what is the cost of the picture, how much the surface area it's covering, etc. So we need to look into the direction of what we want to achieve, what type of the research we are going to conduct, and that's how we need to first think about the data, quality of the data, analysis of the data, because the better your data is, the better you are able to research. So if you are going ahead with raw data, unstructured data, data which is not cleaned, not processed, not been thought upon, so you are going to end up in a mess and with wrong results possibly. Talking about collection of data for the research. So data collection, if I generally talk about data collection, we can say that's a process. We can comment how we can comment on data collection. It's a process where we try to measure the information, we try to gather the information on what. So we need to first identify the variables of interest or the points of interest for which we want to collect the data. And we cannot just randomly collect the data. There is a systematic fashion. There is an established way that how we need to collect the data. Now, what are those established ways to collect the data? Because we need to find out answers to some research questions that we are going to go ahead with, some hypothesis to have certain outcomes in our hand. So there is an established way, a process to gather the data. And whenever you are going ahead with any form of data collection, it is advised to follow those particular ways only. So there is a number of ways, but we stick upon few that we are well versed with. If I talk about the sources of data, we have two broad category of sources. The one is primary source, the other is secondary source of the data. Primary source, if I talk about, that's interview. It's an interview, questionnaire, investigation. So whenever you're collecting data in these three formats, it is going to be the primary first-hand information, which is very, very insightful. If I talk about the secondary source, something which is already published, something which is already there, the research papers that we have. When we go ahead with some analysis, some research work, we try to identify previous work done being on that particular topic. So we identify certain research papers. So that is nothing but one of the examples of secondary sources. So any published research work or something that you know has been done, but it's not published. So from there, if you're taking any insight from any particular work, so that is unpublished. So if we classify the sources of data, we have primary or secondary sources, and these are the following ways, broad ways from where you can have your data. I suppose everyone is with me till here. I can just have a thumbs up if people are okay with the pace and the voice is fine. And we are good till here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, one request from one participant
Yes.
that he is not able to hear you. The voice is little low.
Okay. The voice is little, but I guess there might be some connection problem from their end. So, but I'm trying to speak very loudly.
Okay, fine. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, and I'll try to speak loudly. So if it might be the person is able to hear. Okay. Talking about the primary data that we have just seen. Thank you so much. I'm getting the responses in the chat box. Okay. Talking about the primary data. So primary data is the very crucial information, very important, coming from first-hand sources by means of surveys, observations, or experimentation. So it is some kind of data which has not been previously published, not has been given anywhere, and is derived from a new or original research study and collected at the source, such as in marketing. One of the simplest example of primary data. Now, suppose if I ask any one of you, please give the feedback of the session. What feedback you are giving me right at this moment, that is primary data for me, for my research, that what I've asked you. So that's the primary data, the very first information. It could be direct interaction, it could be interview, it could be questionnaires, any original research study that has been taken into consideration and data is collected from there. Sources of collection of primary data. So sources of collection are direct personal interview. If you have a research statement in your mind, a problem statement in your mind, and you know that this is the person from where I can clear most of my doubts, I can have some insightful information, you can just call up that person. Now, personal interview can either be online, it can be offline, but it is directly between the interviewer and the interview. Telephonic interview that I've just said, that personal interview could be online, it could be offline. Data is collected through an interview over the telephone with the interviewer. But that is again method of direct interview or primary data collection. Okay. Indirect oral investigation, data is collected from third parties who have information about subject of inquiry. Though we are collecting data from the third parties, but we are directly connecting to them and trying to get the data because they have information about the subject under consideration. Information from correspondence, any particular agents, like any investigation area from where we're trying to collect the data. So the agents appointed there, we can also collect the information from there. So that is known as information from the correspondence. We can have questionnaire also to get the data collected. Questionnaire, it like in a feedback form. So mailed questionnaire, you can mail the questionnaire and ask your interviewee to, or ask the person in consideration to fill it out and send it to you. Then filled by enumerators, collected by trained enumerators who fill questionnaires. Now there are again people who have expertise, who have mastery in this particular field of collecting the data, providing the data. So that is also can be included. Okay. Essentials of a good questionnaire. If you want to have a good amount of data, a reliable data, which is again very important. So we need to create a questionnaire which is very, very capable enough of having covering all the topics, having all the insights. So this is one of the sample format of a questionnaire. It could be changed from one perspective to another, or one need, like how we are going to use it, how we are going to create a questionnaire. A covering letter with objective and scope of survey. You are not just directly going to mail it or just directly going to give it to the particular person whom you are going to interview, but you are going to give a cover letter that what is the intention, what is the objective, and what is the scope of the survey. Try to keep minimum number of questions so that the person is able to answer in a given amount of time. Avoid personal questions. No personal questions should be there that the person might feel uncomfortable to answer. Clear and simple questions in very simple language. So there is no ambiguity in the questions. It should be logically arranged. Even the way how the questions are arranged, that also matters. So we can have a look at the questionnaire that's given here. The very first thing that you need to ask the name. That's the common sense anyway. The name of the customer, setting of this is the questionnaire for a simple restaurant. Just for example, I have taken name of the customer. Now the second is, do you like the setting of the restaurant? So we can have checkboxes, we can have single lines so that person can fill in yes or no. What do you think about the service of the staff? Then you can rate the staff upon few points about the quality of the food. So again, one of the best ways to have your services updated, as in the sixth question, the person is asking, do you have any food or drinks you want to add in the menu? It could, this attracts the customers more towards any particular service when you have these kind of questions and people can give feedback to it. if even you can talk about adding or you talk about deleting. And the last question is generic one, did you enjoy eating? So like these questionnaires which are very insightful, such questionnaires can be prepared and shared amongst the people so that you can have a clear understanding. And even they are to be told about the objective and scope of the questionnaire or the survey so that they can fill accordingly. Now, there are various ways to collect the primary data for your qualitative research design. So, sampling, survey, census are all your ways to collect the primary data. Sampling is where you choose a small group, where you target a small group to collect the data from best of the population. So that is sampling. Survey we have just talked about. It could be a face-to-face mode. It could be interview. It could be indirect mode, telephone, internet, etc. That is survey. Census everyone I guess is aware about, where data is collected from every unit of the population. So the method is directly taken from that data can be collected from every unit of the population and can be taken into consideration from there. If I talk about sampling, the first method that we have, where we choose a small group to collect the data that very well represent the population. Types of sampling. We have random sampling, we have stratified random sampling. So basically, if we talk about one particular method, we have endless number of ways to carry out those things, but we often stick to the ways which have been already taken into considerations, on which people have carried out results, so that we have a reliable method to work. So we should not do any particular random ways or any particular ideas which is not reliable, so that our research study does not go in vain. So if I talk about random sampling, what you can see from the picture, we are not just directly going to the definition. Let's see what we are understanding from the picture is, there is a group of people, there is a group of population. We are taking from the entire population a sample of few people for the research purpose. So it is a sampling method in which all the items have equal chance of being selected. And the individuals who are selected are just like the ones who are not selected. So there is no discrimination amongst the population. Everyone has got the probability or the possibility of selection, out of which we select few people for the sampling. If I talk about stratified random sampling, what we can infer, it is a process to gather data by separating the actual population into distinct subset or strata. You can see the pie is divided into different population. Number of people is different. The pie is distributed unevenly. So first we divide the entire population into uneven subsets, to which we call strata also. And then we choose sample from there, some simple random samples from each stratum. So that is what is stratified random sampling. If I compare the census method and sampling method, in census, every unit of the population is studied. We try to collect data about every single population. In sampling, some units of the population to which we take up for the analysis, only those are studied, others are left. Census method, because we are studying every unit of the population, so obviously it is going to give us reliable and accurate result. Sampling method might be the samples which we are treating as the best fit. Possibly they are not the best fit and we might lose upon certain good samples. The results are less reliable compared to the census method. They are less reliable, but they are accurate. Okay, now census is expensive. Why expensive? Because you are talking about each and every unit of the population. Sampling method, it is less expensive because we are just taking up on certain individuals or certain items under consideration, and we are just experimenting on that. Suitable when population is of homogeneous nature, and it is suitable when population is of heterogeneous nature. The kind of method that you are going to choose again depends on the population, what you have selected. It's just not about the population, it could be on items also, different types of data also. On that you can select. So that was all about your primary data. Now if you go to secondary data is something which is not collected by the person who is doing research. It is not collected by me. If I am doing research, secondary data is not collected by me. I am collecting the secondary data, but I'm taking it from somebody else's work. An example of secondary data is a community assessment done by another organization, but used to substantiate another organization's research. Now, if I'm doing research on certain community, so I'm not doing my original research. I'm not going to go there on that with their community, and I'm going to question answer. I'm giving them survey forms, etc. But I am taking somebody else's responses, and that I'm going to consider for my study. So that is secondary data, which is not directly coming from the source itself. It is coming from somebody else's research. So the sources of secondary data are the published sources, mostly the published papers, the government publications, semi-government publications, Census of India, etc. The research papers, the very best examples for the secondary data is the sources of research paper that some other party is referring to and it is getting done in their research. So let's just have a look at the primary data and the secondary data. Primary data is very fresh, original and new. Secondary data is reused and old. Primary data you can customize as per your need, as per your research need. Secondary data you cannot, secondary data is already there. You can use it, but you cannot customize the source according to your need. Primary sources, secondary sources, it is less economical because for primary research, you need so many different variants to be researched upon. Secondary data is more economical because the research is already being done. You just need to study that. It is very reliable, the primary data. Secondary data we cannot say about. It is reliable, could be low on the reliability. Okay. Now, before you actually, we are very well done with the type of data, what is data, qualitative data, quantitative data, everything is done. But what is the goal? The goal is research. The goal is qualitative research. What points we need to consider before we collect the data? Because your data is going to impact the research. That is the only thing that is going to impact your research. So we need to have the data, we need to collect the data. The very first thing is identify the problem or research on whatever you need to explore. You cannot just on random collect your data. You need to exactly identify your problem statement. What is your problem statement? What is your goal? What is your objective? And accordingly, you can start with exploring the research problem and exploring what data you want. How will you differentiate between figures or record? Are there any good figures? Are there any good records which you can have as your data?
No.
How to present data in more meticulous way? The records are to be presented in a very simple way so that even if a third party is reading your research, is reading your data, they are able to understand it very, very easily. What are the things required to collect the data? What are different tools? What are different techniques you need for collecting your data? You need surveys, you need questionnaires. Let's take an example from an engineering point of view. I want to predict the air quality. Because in cities like Delhi, the air quality is degrading continuously. Now I need certain sensors that can catch up the gases mixed with air there, like nitrogen, oxygen, what gases are mixed there. So I need certain sensors to collect those percentage of the gases mixed. So that the equipments are what we require for the collection of the data. Sources of data collection, very important. Sources of data collection, how you are going to identify what are the sources. So all these are the study which a researcher needs to plan beforehand, the sources, the purpose, the tools, the techniques, all these things need to be planned very, very carefully when we go ahead for anything related to data. Okay. Coming to the point, what is qualitative data? Qualitative data is any information that can capture observable qualities and characteristics not represented by numbers. It is very much to be collected by interviews, focus groups, observations not in numbers, but something written in words, documents offering insights into experiences, perceptions, behaviors, etc. If we talk about qualitative data, you cannot count it. You cannot measure it because it describes the data. It explains about the data. Okay. So if we have qualitative data, so what type of questions you can ask? It can answer why or how of your analysis. Even if you are doing an open-ended study, you can have a qualitative data where you can ask people to describe about their true feelings, the directions, the actions, why they have taken these actions, how they have taken these actions. All this why and how can be answered when you go for qualitative data analysis. I guess it should be included as a part of every research. Whenever you collect your data, whenever you try to process your data, you should be very clear of the quality it is going to have. So after reading through all these 3 points, what I can say is that qualitative data is the type of data you were asked someone why they did something, what was their reasoning. So whenever we talk about qualitative data, it gives us a reason of why that person has did this work, or why is he planning to do this, why he has already done this. So it's like reasoning somebody why and how and when. Importance of qualitative data. If I ask why we need qualitative data, so we are not talking about numbers. We are trying to understand the experiences of the people, the reasoning from them. So it is the traits, the characteristics. It is about understanding that how can this data help you. For example, we have an organization, we have something like organization like DMart, some banking company where we have customers that you need to retain, that the company needs to retain. The company is not going to take quantitative analysis there. The company is going to take qualitative analysis. The company is going to understand the customers that the company is having. So qualitative data very well helps us to understand our customers, our users, our visitors better. So when you understand your audience better, they are happy with you. If we talk about qualitative data, that's the first party data, which is directly connected or collected from your audience. When you want accurate and valuable results or insights, relevant insights, then you must go for qualitative data. If I talk about how it solves an issue, so qualitative data helps the market researcher answer questions like what issues or problems they are facing, what motivates them. You need to take suggestions on it, or what improvements can be made. All these things we can achieve from the qualitative data gathering. How you can understand that it is some qualitative data in descriptors. Some examples that I have listed. A bright white light pierced the small dark space. A soft cloud floated by an otherwise bright blue sky. Something which is giving expression, something which is explaining about a certain sort of theory or hypothesis. So these should be simple statements, simple English statements that you can have. As in research, how is the qualitative data being used? In research, when you want to talk about a particular topic, they allow the analyst, whoever the researcher is, whoever the analyst is, to use some contextual information. So from there, they can create theories. From there, they can create models. These are open-ended, or we can say these are closed-ended questions can be there, can be helpful to understand the reason. So when we want to understand the sentiments, the reasoning, the motivation, the frustrations, the basically all leading to one thing, that is the sentiment of the user. Which country do you work in? What is your most recent job title? How do you rank in the search engines? How do you rate your purchase, good, bad, or exceptional? Anything which is related to the emotion or the sentiment of the customer is leading to qualitative data. And all these are the research topics when you talk about customer churn, customer retainment, student retainment, faculty retainment. You need to understand the behavior, the need, the emotion of the people. Talking about qualitative research, it just not helps to collect the data, but it gives the researcher an essence of what the other person is feeling, how the other person is feeling. It lets the researcher understand what are the trends and the meanings of the second party to which the researcher is interviewing. This type of data research focuses on the quality of the user, the action behind their numbers. What quantitative data you're getting from there, the numbers, what is the reason to that number is what your qualitative research going to answer you. Qualitative research is the descriptive and subjective research that brings life to your quantitative data. So without your qualitative data, you cannot understand your quantitative data. It is flexible, it is iterative. These are few of the examples which are talking about the quality of a particular scenario. Talking about qualitative research design. The qualitative research design, if you want to define, it is a kind of research methodology. It is a kind of method using which a person is said to be talked about or researched about that focuses on exploring and understanding complex phenomena of people. Commonly, these terms are being used in social sciences, psychology, anthropology, etc., where you want to have the subjective experience and not the quantitative experience. So where you want to have the subjective experience and you want to have interpretation, then you can go for qualitative research design. You can also capture the richness and depth of the human experiences, their beliefs, their attitudes, their beliefs, their behaviors, their emotions. So these are the simple statistical analysis, but with which you can uncover very insightful facts from people. Twitter sentimental analysis, Facebook sentiment analysis, customer analysis, all these are related to the qualitative research design. And typically it involves gathering of the data through interviews, observations, focus groups, discussions, documents or artifacts, if you analyze them. So from all these methods, we can have the data which is very much of good quality. There is some points which describe your qualitative research design. there are few points. Points like it is exploratory in nature, contextual understanding, it is very subjective and it reflects the idea very clearly. Small, but the sampling is purposeful. In-depth data collection, iterative data analysis. You can, if you are unclear about certain point, you can again ask the person to clarify, to make it more clear to you, to make it more obvious to you by the time you understand what the person actually wants to say. These are the key characteristics of the qualitative research design. Going with the very first key characteristic, that is the exploratory nature. So whenever we are doing the qualitative research design, the motive is to explore. Explore is, we often try to have an open-ended approach so that we can have, every time we ask a question, we can uncover a new insight, we can uncover a new pattern from the respective person to whom we are interviewing. Contextual understanding, you actually talk about that particular context of your interview. You have a particular topic on which you need to uncover, on which you need to have the insights, be it social, cultural, historical, any of the context. And people, it has been observed that people like to share their experiences. People like to have their experiences being captured. So that is one of the very evident method where you can have reliable data collection. Subjectivity and reflexivity. Qualitative researchers acknowledge the influence of their own perspective and biases and often engage in reflexivity to critically examine their role in shaping research process and outcome. So we need to stick to the subjects. The researcher should stick to the process, with the outcomes, what they actually want to achieve. Accordingly, they need to target the audience. They should keep aside the biases. Unbiasedly, they should target the audience and try to critically examine them, try to be good with their self roles and try to achieve the outcomes. The sampling is, we have just seen two examples of the sampling. So rather than going to large samples, we often take up small samplings in different ways, which can provide us some rich information, or those samples can provide us diverse information to our research questions. And even the researcher should also keep in mind that whatever questions the researcher is asking, they are relevant to his or her research problem. We should not ask irrelevant questions. Small and purposive sampling, rather than going for large representations, we have a purpose in mind, and those purpose we are trying to achieve through the sampling. We need to select the best suitable participant for carrying out my research. For example, I want to carry out my research in healthcare sector. So the best possible in, let's say, in the domain of cancer, let's say I want to target those people, I want to understand what are the causes of cancer. So I'm going to call somebody who is a cancer specialist. That doctor is going to help me out with my questions, and I'm not going to call some chef or some faculty for that purpose, because that is not my research area. My area is, if I want to carry research on the causes of cancer, the best suitable person I'm going to identify, and that is going to be some like cancer specialist. So first I need to identify that what is the purpose and who is the participant who I'm going to question, which can give me rich and diverse information. The person who is not from that area of interest, how is the person going to answer me? So selecting the best participant is again one of the very important aspects. In-depth data collection. Researchers spend considerable time with participants collecting detailed and nuanced data, often through open-ended interview, observation, and analysis of text. It is not that in one sitting, in one go, you are going to have all your data collections done. We need to keep iterating. We need to keep asking questions. We need to retake the meetings to understand. Maybe in one meeting, even you are not understanding that what kind of data you need. Even the person you are interviewing is not able to give you proper answers. So maybe in 2 or 3 meetings, you are able to understand what actual questions you need to ask to that person. And even the person is able to understand what kind of answers or what the person is trying to ask or to have the data. So it is not always in one sitting you can have all your queries answered. We need to reiterate, we need to keep on asking till we get the outcome. Iterative data analysis, coding, interpreting data, identifying the patterns, identifying the themes, identifying the relations. All these things require iteration. All these things require continuous efforts. All these things, when you actually need to keep on iterating, by the time you get your the answer what you need, so you need to keep iterating. So these were the few things about the characteristic of a systematic qualitative research design. What are the characteristics? So these few points we have discussed for that. Now, types of qualitative research design. So we are just going to have an introduction of the types of qualitative research design. What are the different types, like phenomenological research, ethnographic research, grounded theory, case studies, narrative research, participatory action research, constructive interpretive research. All these are the types how you can have a qualitative research. So these are the ways how you are going to collect the data, how you are going to conduct the research basically. These are different 7 categories of what you can select the most suitable one for your research and go ahead with that. So each one of it has a different way out. Each one of it is suitable in their own way. Depends, you need to identify the particular research method for yourself. Are we good till here? Everyone is on the same page. Talking about the qualitative research design process. Now you have the data. How you are going to actually apply research into it, or how you are going to mold that data. There are processes assigned to every particular research problem, research methods. So for qualitative research design, there is a set of 9 key steps that every researcher needs to follow. Whatever research it is going to carry ahead or being carried out, the researcher needs to follow some sort of processes, some sort of steps in a hierarchy. Even the step number is also important. So the researcher should always start from the very first thing. You need to be clear about your research question. That's your first step. Determine the research approach. Develop a research plan. Select your participants or select your population. Collect the data, analyze your data, interpret findings, draw conclusion and generate insights, communicate results. How will you communicate your results? In a form of report, in a form of case study, in form of your published papers. How you are going to make it evident to the world? How you are going to communicate to everyone? Now, exploring and understanding the design processes. in detail. Identifying the research question, you need to, with a very concise mind, we need to have an unambiguous statement that clearly outlines my research question or my objective of the research. Why do you want to explore or understand this particular problem? How you are going to carry out your qualitative research? We need to ensure that the question is very specific, focused, and relative to your field of study. As in the questionnaire only, we have seen there should be no unambiguous questions. There should be no personal questions. You should be sticking to your field of study only, which are relevant to your particular subject. Determine the research approach. Select the most appropriate qualitative research approach or design based on your research question and objective. Firstly, what you need data. So how you are going to have that data? You need to have data collection methods. What were the data collection methods? Your questionnaire, feedback, primary data collection, all the very different types of primary data collection, or you can go with secondary data collection. So after the data collection, now when you want to apply the research methodology, that is a qualitative research design, now you need to think that what are the different approaches you can select. And you need to choose one that aligns with your research goal. Now, what are the different research approaches that we have just seen here? From phenomenological research, from ethnographic research, grounded theory, case study, etc. From these 7 techniques, now you need to identify which is suitable for your research goals, your objectives, and then you are going to select one of the approach from there. Now develop a research plan. Create a research plan that outlines the steps what you are going to take, create the procedures for it, timeline for your study, because you need to not carry out the research infinitely. You need to stick to a timeline that this is the given timeline and yeah, I want to complete my research within itself, within these particular timeline. So you need to have the steps, you need to have the procedure, you need to have the timeline of your study. Then what you are going to do, you need to target the population, you need to target the participants. These are my participants. Whenever a new scheme is launched, whenever a new mobile phone is launched, whenever a new scheme as in related to recharge, how they are launching all those schemes, they are targeting their customer base, like people between 15 to 35 years of age are very much into their mobile phones, very much over the social media. These people need to be considered as a target base, as the audience for which these SIM card companies are launching new and different schemes, because they have identified that these are the target populations which are continuously over the social media and they're consuming more and more data. So they need to figure out certain schemes, how they can have their customers, how they can attract more and more customer base. So we need to identify the target, the population, the participants. We need to then identify the data collection methods, data analysis techniques you intend to use, whatever you are trying to use. All those techniques we need to, basically the researcher needs to identify. Select, collect, analyze. Giving it the method a proper term, any particular method a proper terminology, we select, we collect, we analyze. We select what? We select the participants who can give you critical insights, valuable insights related to your research questions, like demographic insights, expertise, experiences, specific characteristics relevant to your study. To have the participant. Then we collect what? We collect data. We collect the data using chosen qualitative method. What are the qualitative method? Questionnaire, surveys, offline, online interviews, or the secondary methods, published, unpublished data, focus groups, document analysis. But again, one of the point of consideration or the important point here is ethics are very important. We need to maintain the ethnicity of everything. Everything you do as a researcher should have the ethical standard. If you are referring to someone else's work, properly cite that thing. Give the reference that you have used the particular example from here, the particular work of so and so person. So ethics are to be maintained. It is very crucial to maintain the ethics. It is very crucial to adhere to ethical guidelines and ensure that participants provide informed consent. When you record a Zoom meeting, it gives you a prompt that this meeting is being recorded. It is taking your consent. It is one of the ethical consideration of the Zoom platform that it asks the participant that this particular meeting is recorded, your actions will be recorded. Do you want to go ahead or not? So whatever, and as a researcher, it is your prime responsibility to check the ethical standards. Consider audio or video recording to ensure accurate data capture. Whenever you are taking an interview, you are recording the voice of the interviewee. You are recording the video of that interview. We need to first take consent from them that we are capturing your voice, we are capturing your video. Are you allowing us to do so? Then we can have the data collection in that particular manner. So apart from all the things you do as a researcher, one standalone very important perspective is ethics. Analyze the data. Engage in data analysis to identify patterns, themes, insight from the collected data. Take a simple example. You have a certain table of data, few rows and few columns. You can visualize it using a bar graph very simply, but you are using scatter plots, which makes the visualization ambiguous. So the thing is, we need to select the proper tools. We need to select the proper techniques. We need to select the proper analysis method so that we can have a clear understanding of the data. So whatever the software you are using, whatever the technique you are using, you try to use such methods that can give you a clear direction, clear purpose, that can give you, that can help you basically to refine and deepen your analysis and not make it more complex for you. So we have the 9 points being covered here, starting from identifying your research question to determining your research approach, to develop a research plan, select, collect, analyze, select your participants, collect your data, analyze your data, and the next 3 points, interpret findings. Whatever the data you have analyzed, try to interpret the findings, try to record your findings based upon that data. Even you can explore the emerging relationships out of that data, emerging themes, emerging meanings, what you could have understood. Consider how the findings relate to your research questions. Now you have formed a questionnaire to gather those findings. You also need to check time to time that are these findings aligned to your research questions or not. Draw conclusions and generate insights. Whatever the key findings you have got, draw certain conclusion based on your finding. Try to have the implication, try to have the novel approach to your finding, try to get significant amount of data, try to have future directions for the research, that the research is not just being shut down after you study, but it should have a future research scope. Try to identify limitations or biases in your study. Then communicate a result, whatever findings, whatever interpretations you have got, try to communicate those results. Prepare a report, prepare a manuscript, because these are research findings. So you can go with report, you can go with manuscript. You try to present your qualitative data, you try to present your analysis, what are the interpretations. but in a clear and organized manner. Share your findings, what you have got, through publication, through presentation. Let other people also understand what you have got from your study. The outcomes are very likely to differ from one person to another. What they have got as their study could be different. What you have got as per your findings, as per your techniques, that's going to be different. So let people also know what different things you are doing, but through proper channel. This is again very important. Finding is one of the important things. Ethics is again important. Then publishing your information, providing people those information, but through appropriate dissemination channel is again one of the things that we need to look ahead, or we need to understand. When should we use qualitative research? Now we have seen how we can have the data collection. We have seen how we can have the qualitative analysis. We have seen the techniques, we have seen the purpose, everything. But when we should use qualitative research, when this thing is going to come into picture? You are going to use qualitative analysis, or you are going to use the qualitative research when you need to determine particular trend or characteristic from a large data set that is being considered. You would also use qualitative data to help answer questions like who your customers are, whom you need to target, what issues your customers are facing, what kind of, what are the ways through which you can solve those issues, where they need to focus their attention so that they can solve those issues, or even you as an organization need to help your customers so they can get those issues sorted and they can remain with you and do not get directed to any other organization or firm or services or company, etc. The customer retention is one of the very important area where qualitative research plays, it gives wonderful results there. If actually seriously considered or taken. Qualitative data is widely used to understand language consumers speak. So it is the only way to be connected, to get connected to your customers, for the organizations, for the business organizations, for the firms, for the demand and supply chains. So it is the only method these people can use to understand their customers. Actually, what language they want to speak, what they want to tell their organizations. So that is whenever you are going to get time as an organization to understand somebody, this is the most efficient way what you can use the qualitative data analysis. Like every other technique, qualitative research is having some advantages. Like every other technique, it is also going to have some disadvantages. So no, like everything else, it has got some advantages. It is affordable because in qualitative research analysis, we need a small sample size. So that's cost effective. It's a predictive element. We try to predict. We are not just directly stating, but we are trying to predict from the data that what are the specific insights. And even after gathering information, we say that it is a prediction. Qualitative research focuses on the details of the personal choice and uses these individuals' choices as workable data. So whatever answers you are getting as your question from your questions, these are nothing but what the person is telling you. What are their choices as an interview? Qualitative research works to remove bias from its collected data by using an open-ended response process. There is no biasing, there is no mix and match of the records. Whatever the question is being asked, accordingly the person is giving the answer. So it is very much open-ended session. and where the original responses are being collected. Qualitative data research provides useful content in a thematic analysis because you set a theme, you set a tone of the research, you try to gather the data accordingly, you create questions, and according to a given particular set of questionnaire the person is answering. Disadvantages of using the qualitative data. If you are using the qualitative analysis on a larger population, then it is very much time consuming. Creates subjective information points. The answers when you take from the people, these are very much detailed, explanatory and are being there. So to understand something from it needs serious analysis. So that is again one of the things that most of the time is required. Can involve significant levels of repetition and is often difficult to replicate. When you have 3 to 4 lines of answers, explanations about a particular topic, there could be repetition of the same type, of the same answers, and most of the time it gets difficult to replicate or to get the insights from that particular data. It relies on the knowledge of the researcher. Now, the type of questions the researcher is going to create and what kind of knowledge it attracts from those questions again depends upon the knowledge of the researcher. So the researcher here plays a very important role. Whatever the knowledge is there with the researcher, from that only he is going to create the questions. So the researcher should be very well versed with the problem statement he or she has taken, so that he can actually create appropriate questions. Qualitative research does not give you any statistical analysis. If you want statistical analysis, you need to turn to quantitative data. So at any particular given point of time, you want that I need some numerical data for this. I want some statistical analysis for this. What should I do now? Because I have done qualitative research. So then you need to go ahead with the entire quantitative process if you actually in a dire need of quantitative data. Coming to qualitative data analysis tools. Now you have collected your data from questionnaires, from surveys, from direct, indirect interviews, from published papers, from unpublished findings, etc. Now, how will you analyze it? So previously we used to use Excel sheets. We used to have filters on that and we used to analyze the data. We used to like very manual methods to analyze your findings. But as and when the technology has made advancements, very much different softwares have came into market. And as we know that we are not able to be successful without the right tool. We need the right tool in our toolbox to have the proper data analysis. So a few tools that are working very greatly are being listed, like MaxQDA. So it is a qualitative and mixed method data analysis software. FullStory, it is a platform where behavior of the people are analyzed. Atlas.ti, it's a qualitative data tool that has the AI-based functions, and whatever you want to analyze from there, you can analyze. Querycode, qualitative data analysis software for the simple learner, like for the beginners, those who are just into data analysis. I'll just go through the website links of all these tools. Dedupe, it's for project management, basically for people who are into project management and doing the analysis, doing the collaboration and teamwork. So this can be used. Tagwit, it's an open source free platform. All of these are having free platform to a certain extent, but when you try to use all special features, then we can go for the paid versions. So Tagwit is for data analysis and organizational behavior. Monkey Learn is text analysis basically and visualization tool. Qualtrics is experience management softwares. So all these are different type of tools that we can explore from our end, because covering all the types of tools is not possible in the session itself. So the links I could just paste in the presentation and I'll share later to the organizations. But we can have a look of all these tools once I end up with the presentation. Or else I'll just go to the links one by one so we can have a look. I'll just stop sharing here and I'll go to the browser so that we can see all the different websites. I'll just share my entire screen. So this is Qualtrics. I suppose it is visible to everyone. This is one of the qualitative data analysis platform. So it is mostly business organizations are using it. Specialized AI is there to uncover the insights from the data that you provide it to. So there is a whole lot of customer experience, employee experience, strategy and research, all these kinds of data. From all these kind of data, you can use it. Customer care assist, everything is there. You can even request a demo or you can watch overview from it. And it helps a lot in the analysis of the business data, basically. Then the next one we have is Medallia, that is Monkey Learn. It is solely dependent on the text analysis. For all these websites, you can request a demo for whatever purpose you want it. So it can analyze the text like this. You can give a particular statement. It can analyze the effort level. It can analyze the emotion, like what a waste of time. So from there, it is analyzing the emotion, score, etc. All of these things it is providing. Customer KPI, sentiment score. So this is how the new technologies is analyzing all the data. The next is Tagwit. So it is mostly running on server. So we can just request a demo here and we can see for your own qualitative research. You can either work locally, but for all these things, we need to install it and work on it. The next is Deduce. It tries to help the researcher in research processes. For researcher, it is like in education, psychology, marketing, in all these disciplines, it can work. So it is a qualitative and mixed method you can apply here. So there is no demo as such, but you can try for certain free amount of time. Then we have Quilpos. Quilpos is again qualitative analysis software. Everywhere you can just see it's a qualitative analysis software. Qualitative text data, whatever you are having, it can just analyze. So, but again, it's a student edition, and whenever you are going for commercial side, you need to pay for it. You can even request for demo. There is a small video how it is, how you can use it. That is one of the things. Then the next we have is atlas.ti. So there's a AI powered tool which can again help you to analyze. You can import and organize your files here and just analyze the data, whatever you are having. The next is Full Story. So whatever, it's again an AI based site where you can have your data analyzed, behavioral data. So this is mostly on the customer behavior. They have just given a small demo of how they are working. So like how the different customers are working differently. So all those insights it can give you, like uncover hidden digital behaviors, understand and improve the tools and workflow that shape your employee. So it's very suitable for an organization where we can understand or study the behavior of the customers. Then the next we have is Max QDA. So it is just saying that it is #1 qualitative data analysis software with the AI integration. So you can have your free trial, you can have the data visualized, you can analyze your literature review, you can analyze your content, you can analyze your interview. From all these methods you can have you can whether your survey contains standardized or open-ended questions, you can easily import and analyze, because okay, that's fine when you have conducted a survey, you have done great, but what about analyzing part? For that you need some tools, some technique. So it is stating that whether you have your literature review, so your literature review becomes faster and easier. As a faculty, we most of the time we write papers, we publish it, we try to have the literature review so that you can use this particular application. Mixed methods analysis, wide range of different data types. For that also you can use it. Then content analysis. Without AI support or with AI support, you can analyze whatever the content you are feeding it. Interview, you have certain transcript, you have certain interviews, then you can visualize and analyze your results here. Then questionnaire analysis, then you have focus group data analysis. You are going to be supported with a variety of different tools so that your transcripts is generated really, really fast. These are certain like transcription, team cloud, assist, etc. And this is a very old website. Basically, it keeps on updating. It has been updated and it has 36 years of experience, like the people associated with this. And so many institutions like Meta, Amazon, etc. are using this particular platform to understand their customer base, to understand the behaviors, etc. So then you can download it and you can have a free trial also. And I guess as a faculty point of view, because it provides the literature review support, I guess this is very suitable for us. So we could just have a look at it and we try to understand, we try to see to what extent we can have it is beneficial to us. These are these were some 8 to 9 tools that are specifically designed for different kind of analysis, qualitative data analysis only, specifically designed for qualitative data analysis. So, going to be helpful for us. Going back to the presentation where we have left. Okay. So I think we have covered 8 tools, and these are the 8 topmost tools which are currently being used by different business organizations, business food organizations to understand, to retain, to help, to manage their customer base, to employees, etc. Okay. But after all these insightful operations that you do, there are certain issues which create a concern even in even after proper analysis of your data, there are chances of you getting it wrong. Why? You have three major points of concern: Hawthorne effect, observer expectancy effect, artificial scenario effect. Tackling each one of the effect one by one. One effect, the very first one, given name as Hawthorne effect. It is a change in participants' behavior when they know they are being observed. Okay. Now, suppose there is a researcher who is observing a particular person for their behavior, how they are behaving in a particular scenario. In that particular condition, this is a human tendency, this is a natural tendency that when we know that we are being observed, we are being watched upon, we try to behave in a different way. We try to behave in a normal way that we think that we are behaving normally, but we actually do not. We try to behave in some different sort of thing which we actually do not behave generally. So when you know that you are being observed, you try to behave differently. So that is Hawthorne effect. At that particular time, that is not the original emotion the researcher wants. When you know you are being proctored, you change your behavior. That is, at that particular time, that's not the original effect the researcher is getting. Observer expectancy effect. Some participants change their behavioral responses to satisfy the researcher's desired effect. Now, some participants are very helpful. When they know that this is being asked, they try to give answer as per the researcher's need. Maybe that answer is not appropriate, but they try to please the researcher that, okay, you are asking me this question. Accordingly, I'll give you a sweet, simple, positive response. Whether possibly the response might go in a negative way, that is not going to be actual response, but it is, again, all these are the natural tendency of people, human tendency, that we try to adjust according to the situation. We are going to just say, yes, yes, okay, this is the response. I'm very happy with the presentation. I'm very happy with the work culture. Maybe actually you're not happy with the organization, not happy with the work culture, but you are going to say the researcher, yes, I'm very happy. So again, there is a mismatch in the responses. The prediction will not be that accurate. So whenever we have collected the data, there should be some provision for the biases. There should be some provision for such kind of effects or such kind of unreliable data. So the researcher needs to think upon and relook the data again so that these things can be removed. And possibly these cases happens unconsciously from the participant. So we need to limit the interaction time from the participant. We need to keep the question simple. We need to within 2 to 5 minutes, if in a one sitting, basically I'm talking about, we can just wind up the questionnaire part. Artificial scenario, some qualitative research occurs in contrived scenarios with present goals. In such situation, the information may not be accurate because of the artificial nature of the scenario. Artificial nature of the scenario, as in where you are assuming something and try to answer accordingly. So that is the scenario that has been made up in your mind, and you're trying to assume yourself there and you're trying to answer. So that is one of the limit where your goals are not satisfied. Might not be, answers might be not that reliable. So every time you go with a questionnaire, every time you go for question answer session, go with actual needs, actual requirement, what is the actual scenario, go with all the actual statistics, and then and there your outcomes are going to be correct. Now, at this point of time, I would like to summarize what are the discussions we had. So summarizing and discussing, talking about qualitative data analysis, qualitative research design. What what was our intention to cover today. So there are few points that I had listed. I would just read it out one by one. Qualitative data can take, it's kind of a summary that we have just covered into the entire session. So qualitative data can take the form of text, photos, it could be video, it could be audio. For example, you might be working with interview transcripts, survey response, field notes, or recordings from natural settings. You're giving it to your AI softwares and asking them to analyze it. Most type of the qualitative data analysis techniques share the same 5 steps. What are the same 5 steps? Prepare and organize your data, interview setup, typing of field notes, review and explore your data, examine for data, for the patterns, for the repeated ideas, and what new things you can uncover from there. Then develop a data coding system based on your initial ideas. Establish a code base so you can apply to categories of your data. You can have a predefined set of instructions. If you're getting the same kind of data, you can just apply to it. So the time consumption is reduced. Assign codes to the data, for example, codes as in if you are like in a spreadsheet, if you are working, you can write Excel queries on that so that the data is automatically cleaned, or say we can say processed. Identify recurring themes, link codes together into cohesive overarching themes. Whatever the data is every time getting repeated or every time coming one after the another, you can just identify those recurring data and you can just eliminate it. So you can have proper output. Again, summarizing everything, we have certain approach like analyzing your data, when to use an example. Just try to put up things in a gist. Content analysis, when you want to categorize common words, when you are actually going ahead with content analysis. When you are going to use content analysis, when you want to categorize words, phrases, ideas in a qualitative data. For example, a market researcher could perform content analysis to find out what kind of language is used in its applications or whatever the platform is providing to the user. Thematic analysis, when you are going to use, when you want to identify the patterns, the theme, the patterns in your data. Like a psychologist, when it is trying to address a person or any particular thing, when you try to understand the psychology of a person for a particular pattern or behavior you want to analyze. Textual analysis, content structure, again, content analysis or textual analysis, one the same thing. News coverage, the text in the alphabets, exposure, communication, and how language is used to achieve effects in specific context. What are the sentiments? What are the effects? What are the behaviors of the people? How politicians generate trust in election campaigns, like sentiments of the people, behavior of different people, etc. So these were few types, like the approaches when to use and some of the suitable examples we had. Okay, so again, these are the references from where I have taken all the content, few of the references. And yes, primary data collection. So that's one of the QR code that if you would just scan and there would be 3 simple questions if you can just fill up for me as a feedback for this particular session. So when I have this data, this is the direct data that I'm getting from my audience. So this is the primary data that I have collected, the feedback that I would be getting. So you can just either go to this Menti link or you can log into Menti and have this, enter this code and write, or you can just simply scan the QR code. So now I have 3 different techniques of data collection. I'm giving you a link, I'm giving you a code, and I'm giving you a scanner, QR code basically. So out of which, what is suitable for you, you are going to go ahead with that. And what I am getting is my primary data. What is the feedback received from my participants? That I'm getting as the data. Now that I'm getting as the data. Now I will analyze it because I've added 3 questions in, and the answers are yes, no, or maybe. So from those answers, I'm going to analyze what was the feedback. So this is a whole lot of process I have tried to sum up of the qualitative data in my feedback. So I suppose people have scanned this. I'll wait for a minute so that those who have not scanned can have it scanned. And thank you so much, everyone, for the patient listening. These are my details if anybody would want to contact or have any queries. So that's my official email ID and my LinkedIn profile. You can contact it for any collaboration or anything, or any queries. I would really be grateful if people scan this QR and give the feedback. That would be very insightful. And then just go to the Menti link that I have shared so I can actually see what different responses if I'm able to get. I guess no responses till now.
Hello,
I'll
ma'am.
just yes, sir. Yeah, done. I'm done from my side. Thank you, everyone.
So thank you so much, ma'am. It has a very beautiful session, and the floor is open for a discussion. So any queries, the participants are kindly asked to unmute yourself and ask your queries to the ma'am. Thank you so much. Ma'am, I'm audible, ma'am.
Yes, I can hear you.
So participants, is there any questions to clarify with the ma'am? So kindly ask the questions to unmute yourself. Otherwise, we can wind up the session.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am. Can I?
Ma'am,
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
go ahead.
Please.
Good
Yes.
evening, ma'am. I'm Ishwar from Chandigarh.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, I just wanted to ask about the tools you mentioned, ma'am. I have one query about it. I have a few whatever knowledge about the tools like IBM SPSS. How do you
IBM
rate
SPSS.
this? Yeah, ma'am. How do you rate the
That-
IBM
that's
SPSS
a
among?
wonderful that's a wonderful tool from IBM. So these actually I have gone ahead with these tools as in they are very much available as an open source, so people could easily use it. So that's why I've gone ahead with these specific tools. So even if you are using IBM SPSS, that is also fine. That is according to the work what you have. So if it is suitable as per your requirement, you can go ahead with that.
But means comparatively, which is a good one among these 8 tools which you have mentioned? I'm researching on the qualitative sampling data, ma'am.
Okay,
And,
okay. That's your
right.
research question. That's a problem statement that you are saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So IBM's SPSS is definitely one of the powerful tool that I would say. And the last one that I have told,
Qualtrics.
MaxQDA. That's again
Okay,
very
MaxQDA.
powerful. Even on that you can research.
hello.
So you can just
Thank you,
compare
ma'am.
your result, whatever you're getting from IBM SPSS and from MaxQDA, you can compare your results and you can see what difference you're getting. So that would be an insightful point for you.
But it is time,
Yes,
it will be
Good
time
evening.
consuming, na, ma'am.
I
So
can
basic,
first, can I add to the conversation? I'm Sunetra Deshpande from Ahmedabad. I'm a research scholar in JG University. I have been using SPSS since last 25 years, and it is basically quantitative analysis tool, right? So
Yes.
for a qualitative, we have been using NVivo.
So that
and
is what I have said
Yeah.
to sir also, that whatever the research statement is, whatever the problem statement he is using, you need to identify according to that what is the best suited tool.
so
Thank
I
you,
think-
Deshpande sir, ma'am.
So SPSS we can use for quantitative analysis, not for qualitative.
Yes, if he is working on quantitative data, so he can use SPSS.
Good evening, ma'am. I am Sandeep Sharma from JG University, Ahmedabad. I'm a PhD research scholar. I have a question. If I'm using the case study approach, so in that case, which tool would be best suitable for my analysis?
If you are using the case study approach.
Yeah.
So basically, case study has different approaches. I would just like to mention one of the things that I actually forgot. I had one case study to cover here,
Okay.
and due to short of time, I forgot to cover that particular thing. I'll just cover that part. Let me share my screen.
Hello. Any questions is there? Hello.
Hello. Actually,
Yes,
there's
ma'am.
some problem with the connection. I'm just want to share my screen, but it is not getting shared.
Ma'am, in that case, you can
Good
share
evening,
it
ma'am.
as a document if it is possible.
Okay. Sir, in the case study approach, yes, we can go with the qualitative analysis. One of the thing, and as the approach says, that's a case study approach. The 8 tools that I have mentioned that can very well analyze the text for you. So accordingly, you can select from there what is the best suitable tool among them.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Ma'am,
you.
I'm a research scholar from Coimbatore. Regarding my study, I have a doubt. I'm collecting data from tourist behavior in some particular festivals. So
How are you collecting the data, ma'am?
directly going to that event or festival and collecting data from who are participating that.
Okay.
But I have a confusion, like while it seems to be purposive sampling, sometimes it seems to be random sampling. So what is the exact kind of sampling that I used to collect from the
So basically, when you are
population?
going to those particular events, so you have
Yes.
a set of questions with you, or you are observing the behavior of the people. What are the parameters?
We have a set of questions.
You
We
have a
have
set of
questions,
questions.
ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. So are there any random festivals or events like
We are selecting in a particular place what are the famous festival or a well-known festival we are listing, and from there we are collecting without any criteria, like no any age category or like any community or like whoever participating. We are just picking a few people from every event.
Till now for what all festivals you have collected the data, ma'am?
Till again, ma'am.
Till now, for what different festivals you have collected the data?
Yes, collecting.
For
So like
which different festivals?
Like temple festivals, their behavior in temple festivals.
Okay. Specifically targeting temple festivals.
Like Trishur Puram, yeah. Trishur
Okay,
Puram, like one of the famous festivals, right? So collecting that tourist behavior from there. So which category it comes under, which kind of sampling technique, ma'am, comes under?
So you can go for random sampling. That would be fine.
Actually,
What method you
while
have used? What method you have used?
yeah, with questionnaire, it seems to be like purposely because we are collecting for a purpose, right? Sometimes I feel like it fit for random sampling, so I have a confusion which is the best fitting sampling method for this. That's what I'm confirming with you now.
So any specific age group you are targeting, or
No. Any age, like above 18 years old, who's able to answer this? We are collecting till 60. We are collecting.
so purpose is also fine. Simple random sampling is also fine. If you go for stratified, then you need to actually classify different, either according to the age bands or age categories, or the nations from where the different tourists are coming. So accordingly, you need to give certain scenarios or some categories you need to classify them upon.
Okay. So either better than stratified, it's better to go for purposive or simple random sampling.
Even
right now.
purposive or even simple sampling is also fine. Random sampling.
Fine. Sampling. Okay. Okay. Thanks, ma'am.
Hello, good evening, Khan ma'am. This is
Good
Vasudha
evening.
from Ahmedabad.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
So my research revolves around an interdisciplinary subject in history and education. And I am yet in the primary stage of literature review and working upon the introduction. My query for today is your slide, which mentions about the various issues. That is issues
Various
of
concerns.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, ma'am, over the times, I have done one quantitative and one qualitative pilot testing of questionnaire. Now, because it revolves around history and education, there is a collection of data, a survey that I would be doing through my research about knowing the interest of youth in my subject. Now, for the questionnaire that I initiated, first was a case study, which was descriptive in nature, and it was targeted for one-on-one interview, and an audio clip has been, the audio clips have been recorded. Second is about the pilot test, that is about very minimum questions that I have laid for the youth, asking about the interest. Now, based on both the pilot testing that I've done, summarizing it individually, the quantitative data, but natural, we have numbers, and we have
You have proper
close
numbers for the
ended.
quantitative
Yeah,
data. Yes.
we have close ended, and it is precise. But ma'am, one I have done in a written format and an audio clip, and the another one I have used as a the Google tool, that is the
Google form, possibly.
Google form, yes.
Yeah.
Now, how very much, because referring back to my query is issues of concern. The yes and no is quite unpredictable.
Yes,
How should I-
definitely.
yes, or what should I concentratively, because pilot test, okay, I got the gist of the interest. But if it is now going to be on a major scale, I would be covering the city of Ahmedabad. So if it is going to be on a major scale, ma'am, what do you recommend so that I get an authentic and lesser of issue of concerns are occurred in my survey?
And the very first thing that I would say is keep minimum questions, but that actually relate with your study. But do not let the person whom you're interviewing, don't let him into an expression like it is being observed, it is being proctored, and it is supposed to answer like what you want. If we are having minimum number of questions, we can just get done with it within 5 to 10 minutes mostly. And that's the natural tendency how the person can really simply go ahead with all the questions. Secondly, whatever the responses we are getting there, almost we can have a plus minus 5% chances of errors. So that way we can just have the calculation. Next is when you are doing the quantitative analysis, you have exactly the figures and the facts. You can have actual the analysis, whatever you want. When you are having the qualitative analysis where there are descriptive answers are there, you can take help of any online tool that is available. Maybe possibly that you might be using, or maybe that I have covered, that also you can go ahead with. So even about audio clips, there are tools available which can give transcript for the audios. So that also you can take and just try to get the sentences what are there, and then you can go ahead with the analysis. As far as Google Form is concerned, so at the end, the form itself is giving the analysis of the data, whatever the responses that you have got. If you want any further analysis, then you can again export all those, the Excel sheet that you get out of Google Form into some analysis tool, and we can have the analysis generated. So plus minus 5% possibility of getting the errors is okay. We need to have the results accordingly.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your inputs. Ma'am, how authentic and the Google form is now in trendy. It is through a decade or so. But ma'am, what do you suggest for a larger piece of survey?
As well as if I talk about the human tendency, ma'am, what we do when we have a Google form, we just, even there are times when people don't even read the lines. We just
Yes,
click
ma'am.
on
Yes, ma'am.
things and we just submit it for
Yes.
just completing that particular thing. As far as scenarios, we have seen the hard records are again very much like people even ask for the hard records, hard copy of the records. So you
Yes.
can create like you can create questionnaires, you can take the prints and you can actually give the people with some time limitation. Okay, you can take this much time and you write constructive feedbacks, not just yes or no. Don't give them the feasibility of ticking yes or no or such. So you can mention on the questionnaire itself that please provide constructive feedback. So at least they are going to write something out of what they want to express or any particular thing that they want to write.
So not just MCQs, ma'am, we have different methodologies also by eminent researchers. Likert scale is something which a scale which actually gives us a prompt response. Anything apart from that, ma'am?
I guess this works fine for, because you
Okay.
cannot control the responses of the people. It's just that you are required to set up a good questionnaire, and somehow you can manage, or you can, in a positive way, you can treat your respondents, those who are, you can ask them to give proper responses, not biased ones. But even after that, if people are just randomly filling up data, so that it's not in our control, so we should keep a margin of errors.
Right. Okay, ma'am. And we should mention it also, margin of errors.
That's up to you. That has nothing to do with the people who are responding. They might be getting confused. If they read it, there are chances of getting them being confused.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. I take it as a two-way, ma'am. One is being present during the questionnaire. That is the most authentic way, but
Yeah,
with very,
maybe
very
the people
time-consuming.
might be having any queries, so you
Yeah.
can just answer them, and it would give them a clear picture what is required.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And the session is really very highly informative. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. So we are going to the end of the session. So I'm giving a formal vote of thanks to the ma'am. Or gratitude to their valuable insights and expert. Ma'am, today also we have for things. So thank you so much, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, friends.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt. This is Sundara back again. Ma'am, Mentimeter, you've just given us, if I can please take 1 more second of yours.
Yes, yes, sure, ma'am, definitely.
Ma'am, you
Please go
just
ahead.
mentioned the
Okay.
Mentimeters.
Yes.
And we also have certain other tools which during COVID, by chance, I was advocating also.
Kahoot is there. So many different
Kahoot
tools
is
are
there,
there.
Padlet
Yes,
is
yes,
there.
yes,
Yes,
yes.
ma'am, a lot of them. Now,
Lot
how
of them are there.
even these are like the question that you have just given us, the data, what does data mean?
Mhm.
The first question.
Yes.
Now, how does this analysis, this is going to be a very, pictorial analysis also. Now, ma'am,
Right.
we can share these pictorial ones also. I mean, how do we collect it? Because what I'm catering, my age group is very, very young. I do not want the mundane or the regular questionnaire, which is, would definitely put them into a mode of not interested at all or finish it off.
All these map tools are being used specifically for the students, because every time they want something attractive, something very interactive
Yes,
to
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
capture their interest. So we are using all these Kahoot and these things for their quizzes, etc. So because the
quizzes
Google
and all.
Forms looks very simple for them. So
Yes, ma'am.
there are
So I-
chances. Yeah.
So, how authentic, ma'am? I mean, is the survey even included? I mean, accepting all this as evidence and
No,
documentation?
I don't think I don't suggest, ma'am, to when you are taking survey for a research study, I would not suggest to take it upon a platform like Mentimeter or Kahoot, etc., or any such particular different learning platforms. Basically, the best way that you could have a written survey, that's just like your questionnaires, etc. You can record video, you can have audios, etc.
Okay.
But I would not suggest taking it on these platforms, because these are not so authentic. We
Right.
just put random things there. That is one of the thing, and they are actually not giving you a proper insight. Kahoot is like you can create quizzes on that, you can have open-ended questions, but then actual survey from research point of view is not considerable.
Right, ma'am. These are educative tools for engagement.
Educative tools, yes, you
Yeah,
can
for
engage
engagement.
students. Yes.
And especially in a subject like history, we definitely, just to promote the creativity of an educator
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
methodology,
yes.
change the approach, pedagogical approach. I have advocated this during teacher trainings also. But it's only I needed to know, ma'am, that how authentic or is it reliable? Because yes, this is engaging, but I don't. I
This
was
is
unsure
engaging
about-
but not reliable, ma'am, for
Not
the
reliable.
research
Yes,
purpose.
ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Yes. Thank you so much for your valuable time. The last 2 minutes, and sorry to cut the vote
Most
of time.
welcome. Most welcome, ma'am. Not an issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you
sir,
so much,
for the
ma'am.
time.
Thank
So, ma'am,
you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
we want to have an active participation in the event on Sunday.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so
ma'am.
much, ma'am. We can going to wind up the session. So we will meet tomorrow, ma'am.
Okay, see you
Dear
tomorrow.
participants, we have to leave a